Hello and welcome to Wisdom Bites. Hope you're well. Thank you once again for joining. It's very much appreciated. And in today's video, I'm going to have a look at the normal macro as well as the micro analysis of Bitcoin to see exactly what's happening and where we're heading in the next few days and weeks. I'll also be having a special look at this moving average and why breaking this is going to spell trouble and what could possibly save this. But before I begin, the usual polite reminder, please remember everything in the video is just for educational purposes. Nothing should be taken as financial advice. Please do your due diligence and do your wider research before you make any investment decisions. So with that out of the way, I'm going to actually start off with the macro view of exactly what's happening on the bigger picture with Bitcoin. The first big picture view I want to show you is the log growth curve. I haven't shown you this for quite a while now, but it's showing something very interesting, so please take a note of this. Firstly, we're going to have a look at it on the monthly chart, the larger time frame, so that we can get the full picture of all the cycles that we've had so far. This green line here, as you can see, is the 23.6% on the Fibonacci retracement line, all this green line here. Now, when we topped out here at the top line of the log growth curve, it was only after that that we fell below the green line here. And if you look at this red candle, we can see that we didn't close much below this line. This one went a little bit lower, but it was very much around about the bottom before we started to move along the bottom line here for the next move to the upside over here. And this was the end of the first cycle here in November 2013, after which we went back below the green line here. And once again, once we fell below it, we didn't really go much lower than that. And we found support on the bottom line on our way back towards the next cycle. And in 2017, at the end of the last cycle, we once again hit the top and then came back down below the green line here, the 23.6, and this was the only time we actually closed below it with more than one candle before we had another big run up to the next cycle here. Now currently, if we have a close look at this over here, we can see that if this is really the top, and although we didn't go to the top line here, which is what we were expecting as a blow-off top, this time it surprised us that Bitcoin topped out at the $69,000 mark here. So we got a double top. However, the fact that we've fallen below the green line may be a clue that this is a bear market that we're in, which is what I've been saying for the last many months now. However, Bitcoin has a habit of surprising, and I wouldn't be surprised, although there's a very low probability of making a move to the upside anytime in the next 6 months. Anything can happen, and you've always got to be open to that. I'm not expecting that, of course. But what I want to show you here is that this red candle here, which closed down below the green line, as I've shown you just now over the last few cycles, we haven't closed below this. And this is important to note this here, because currently, which I'm going to show you later in the program, that we are breaking down, and whether we've got a lot more to go to the lower side, because this is giving us a clue that maybe we don't have much downside to the current price levels that we've got. So as you can see, since we bottomed out here with this candle in January, we haven't really closed below this candle in the last 3 months, including this one here. And the bottom of this candle is at 33,000. So could this be that the 33,000 is a bottom before we go sideways here on our way to the actual top in the next few years? So only time will tell, but it's just very interesting to note what the patterns have been with Bitcoin in the log growth curve. The next chart I want to show you is the Dow Jones Index. And we made these levels here many months ago that we shouldn't really fall below this. And the real critical level is this dotted line. The green dotted line here is at 33,000. And this was quite a bullish sign here that we fell below it, but recaptured it very quickly with a big green Marabozu candle here. But what we've done is we've just managed to come back and find resistance at this previous support line here, which is a bearish sign. And as you can see with the current weekly candle, which closed, we've come back down again, and maybe we're going to be challenging this again. Only time will tell, but certainly need to keep an eye on this. Maybe we'll capture this support line here again one more time, but need to keep an eye on this, because if we do fall below this green line, this could end up with a cascade fall. The HYG, the junk bond market, isn't looking very healthy at all at the moment, and it has actually fallen below our 3 critical levels. This was the one that we were getting concerned about. This green line is something that was a real warning. And now the red line in the sand has already been broken here, and we're now well into 5 or 6 weeks below it. So it could well be just a matter of time before we start cascading down on this one as well. But this is the trigger that will actually trigger the Dow Jones Index fall. So we need to keep an eye on this. And the next support level for this is going to be around here, as you can see. So any of these support levels really could trigger this off, and we're really coming to critical levels here, and any of these support levels breaking down could trigger a big fall in the Dow Jones Index. And all we can hope for is basically a bounce from these levels to the upside. So once again, we need to keep our eye on this. This is a very important chart to actually consider. A quick look at the Fear and Greed Index. Currently, in the last month, we've gone from 25, 34, 28, and now currently today, we've got 28. So we're in the fear territory here. And usually this is a contrarian indicator. This is not where markets generally fall to much lower levels. However, if it isn't quickly readdressed by a quick move to the upside, then that would spell danger for the markets to go much further down. So we do need to see a rally back towards the upside. And if we don't get that maybe in a week, maybe within the next 2 weeks, then this could quite easily go much, much lower. As we've seen here, around the 10 level mark many times. So this is what can happen if we don't get a rally from where we are currently. And running down the time frames, firstly, we'll have a look at the monthly chart. We're still finding support on this 21 exponential moving average here. We did recapture the 8 EMA last month. Currently, we've lost the 8 EMA over here, and we could quite well find the strong support that we've had along here, which is currently at exactly $38,000, and the current price is at $38,800. So we've lost that support at $39,000, and the question is, will we find strong support here at $38,000 exactly? And if we go on to the weekly chart, we can see quite clearly that we've lost the very important 21 weekly exponential moving average, which is the yellow line here. We captured it a few weeks ago, but came down with a bump over here, and we've now maintained a downward path. The interesting thing with the 21 weekly exponential moving average is that when we made the first top here at 64,000 and broke down the 21 weekly exponential moving average here, we made these lows at these prices here, around about the $32,000 mark. After the second top, when we lost the 21 weekly exponential moving average, we've actually made higher lows here and created this W pattern. So the question now is that, are we going to create another higher low now that we've lost the 21 weekly exponential moving average here? If we draw a trend line from the bottom here, we can see quite clearly that we're finding support along this trend line, and that stretches all the way down to about 38,600 here. So the concern here would be that if we fall below this, then we may end up in a far bigger fall. However, there are layers to this, and it could well be we come back to the bottom of this line here at around about 36,000, and obviously we've got these levels here at the bottom of these wicks, which could quite easily provide support here. So these are the potential downfalls here. So these are the potential support lines that we need to be aware of. We'll also have a look at the upper levels if the market does go up from where we are now and have a bounce on this very strong support line here. So that's the macro picture, just to set the scene exactly what's happening in the background on the larger time frames here. The biggest concern to me currently, and I wasn't really expecting this to be falling below this 3-day 200 simple moving average. We found support numerous occasions here when we fell down back in January here, and then after this rally we came back and found support on it again, and once again found support for the third time. And this was our fourth support line here, and this time it looks like we are breaking this below. So this would really be a very big concern, and the way to look at this is to put it into the historical context that whenever we've broken this green line, what has actually happened. Although it's very concerning, but to put it into context with the historical perspective. What I want you to do is to compare the price action here with the BITMEX funding index here. As you can see, as we're falling here below the green line, this is obviously the BLX chart, so it's not caught up with the current price, which is below this green line. We can see quite clearly that the BITMEX Index fund here is actually in the negative territory. And this is important when we put it into context in an historical way. So the last time we broke below this 3-day 200 moving average was in the COVID situation here. And at that point, as you can see, the BITMEX Index was in the positive territory. And this was a one-off situation anyway, so really we should discount this. And prior to that, back in December 2019, we fell below it with one candle down, and we very quickly recaptured it to go well above this again. And that was a trigger for a nice rally up to the $10,500 mark here. And that was about a 60% rally that we got after we fell below this green line here. But what's important is that when we fell below this green line, once again, the BITMEX Index was in the negative territory here. The previous time we went below this green line was back in the end of 2018 in the bear market that we had here. We came and found support, and then when we went below it, we recaptured it. But unfortunately, we lost support there and came down 50%, all the way down to 3,200 from the $6,000 mark here. Again, the interesting thing is that before it fell down, we were actually in positive BITMEX Index territory. So the only times we've actually fallen down below this has been in positive index territory. There was another time when we fell below it, and this was at the end of the first cycle, the bear market that followed. We came to this and found support, and then we fell below it, back down to the downside, but we don't have the record of where the BITMEX Index was at that time. So the fact that we are currently in the negative index territory here with the BITMEX funding index, could this be our savior for this to have a very big fall to the downside? Only time will tell. I just thought this was very interesting to point this out, that while we are breaking below the 39,000, there is still hope that the BITMEX negative funding index could actually steer it away from the downside and back to the upside for higher levels. So on the daily chart, this is what's happening here. We're just breaking below this support line on the daily chart. But as we've seen on the weekly chart, it's still holding strong support around these levels. In the current situation, before we have a look at the micro analysis of this move down here, the picture is that we've topped out at the 69. We've come back down in this very strong downturn that we've had, found support on this line on numerous occasions, which we're just breaking down on the daily chart. We've had a few rallies to the upside, and we were expecting a bigger rally to the upside here, which we did do, which we created a higher high from these points here, as well as higher lows along the way. So that should have been a bullish move to the upside. However, it looks like it may well have been a bear trap, where the price came up to the 200 daily moving average and got rejected at that point here. And since then, we've had this cascade fall down here. We were finding support in this region. So let's have a look at this move here and see if we can make head or tail out of this, of where it could possibly go. If we go to the weekly chart, we can see a much more clearer view of this fall that we've just had here. So we've got to have a look at how far this fall can go down to. If we have a look at this move down here from the Fibonacci retracement lines, we can see quite clearly that this was the bottom here and this was the recent top that we've had. So if we take it from down here to the top, we can see quite clearly that we are coming down to the 61.8 level at 38,700. This is where we're finding support at this level here. Should we fall below this 61.8, then the 78.6, which is the next support level, is at around about 36,100 at this level here. So this is still quite a possibility of coming down here. But as we know with Bitcoin, it has a very strong affinity to 61.8. So there is a good probability that we may bottom out at the 61.8 here. And as you can see with the weekly chart, we are coming to the bottom of that support line here. And the question is, will we get a bounce from here or will we break to the downside? And as I've shown you with the log growth curve, that once we do get below that 23.6 level, We don't fall very much further than that. And also the BITMEX funding index is suggesting that because it's in the negative territory, that we're more likely to bounce up rather than to go to the downside. But only time will tell, and we know that Bitcoin has a habit of surprising, so it can go anywhere. Okay, so we'll leave it there. I hope you found some value in this video, and if you did, then please do remember to like and subscribe and to turn on the notification bell. And if you want to leave any comments, questions or suggestions, then leave them in the comments below. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.